Let's talk about table properties. And when I say properties, you're going to hear properties throughout code land. You can be an ActionScript, JavaScript, PHP, HTML, and CSS. And generally in any of those languages, you're talking about objects. Objects are things, and things can do things, and they can be things. And the things that things can be is called a property or an attribute. So let's talk about table properties, things that a table and table cells specifically can be. So in our last video we did this little thing here fairly rapidly, but let's make a new file. Let's go into Dreamweaver, we'll make a new file. And we're going to make another basic HTML page. Here we go. Let's insert a table. Insert table. And this time we're going to have 3 rows, 3 columns. But to make our math very easy, we're going to make this, let's make it 600 pixels wide. And notice border thickness, cell padding, and cell spacing. If you're using, if you're making tables, always set these attributes to 0, and we're going to talk about them in a second. But these are all properties of a table. Cell padding, cell spacing, and border thickness are all things that a table can be. So I'm going to click OK. There's our table. Now, just to make our math easy, and as you plan your site, make your math as easy as you can. So I'm going to click in this cell, and just for the heck of it, I'm going to make the width 200 pixels, and I'll make the height, I'm going to make the height 200 pixels. That gives us a nice little square. I can come down here. I'll set the width at 200 pixels, tab key, height at 200 pixels, and finally we'll go down into this cell and we make the width 200 pixels, tab key, 200 pixels for the height. Now, one attribute of the table cell, well, let's go back to the table properties. If I come down here to the quick tag inspector, I can click table. Again, an attribute or property of the table, something that the table can be, is centered. So we're going to center our table by going to line center. Now, just for the heck of it, we can apply a background color to our page simply by going to the Modify drop-down menu in Dreamweaver and just going to Page Properties. This is a very handy yet kind of dangerous little place, I'm going to say. You'll find out later. But notice here, Page Properties, things that a page can be. And I'll go to Background Color, maybe give it some like little faint yellow background. And the cool thing about this window is I can click Apply, and it'll show me how it looks. And notice that when I do that, the background of the entire browser window turns yellow. Here's my hexadecimal value here. I could have gone into Photoshop and found a hexadecimal value, but at this time, we're just going to leave it at this yellow and click OK. Now, again, the box model, we have our big box, the browser window. Our table is the box floating over the browser window, but right now the colors of the browser window is coming into our table, so I can go to this cell and give it a background color, maybe white. This cell, give it a background color of white, perhaps. This cell, give it a background color of white, perhaps. And what I could have done, like for my footer, I could drag through all of these and just give, they became unselected. Yeah, no, that worked. Okay, so I drag through all of them, go to Color BG, apply them all a background color. And let's come in here and let's maybe give this one this color. And so you can see that our table floating over the body or the browser, and we're giving each cell its own individual color, or we're giving our different rows. Now notice here you can see the eyedropper. It wants to know what color I want to add. If my eyedropper is over here, notice this little thing turns to white. If I come over here, it goes that color. So it's very easy to use the eyedropper, and that works if you hover over images. The eyedropper will pick a color out of an image. So there you go. There's our basic table. Let's type some text in here. Hi there. There you go. Type some text there. Let's type some text there. Hi there, Jimmy. And notice that our text shows up to the left of the document, or in the left of the cell in the middle. This is another property that we can assign to each individual cell. So for hi there, now this is something that will really get you. Notice when I click over here, notice this cell just whacks out. The cell is whacked out. This cell is whacked out. We set this to 200 by 200 here, but these two don't know what to do. Oh no, so that's why I said in a previous title, when working in tables or in any box model box, you want to stipulate the width and height for each and every one, or they don't know what to do. So we'll come in here and we will stipulate this one to be 200 pixels by 200 pixels. And notice this one comes back, but I'm a little nervous about that one because it doesn't really know what to do. So I go 200 pixels, tab, 200 pixels. Now everybody's okay. Now back into hi there. I want this text to be in the middle. Another thing that a cell can be, a property of a cell, is to center everything in the cell. That's where hors comes in. I can go hors for horizontal, and I might choose center. And if I type something else in there, Jim Bob, it automatically shows up centered. Everything in the cell is centered. I might have a lot of text. Maybe I don't want this text for hi there, Jimmy, in the middle of the cell. Another something that we can do to cells is vertical alignment in the properties panel under vert. So if I come up here, I can go to top and send hi there, Jimmy, all the way to the top, and maybe I'll take its horizontal alignment to the right. So a cell, we can have center alignment, left alignment, right alignment. We can assign it various background colors, and we can give it, of course, as we did, we can give it width and height. Okay, now let's go back to Mr. Table Tag. I'm going to click the table tag, and let's talk about cell padding. First, before we do that, let's come in here. Let's just type in something over here. Da 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 da. Now this is where stuff gets kind of funky because, well, first let's go back to the table tag. And let's talk about cell padding. Cell padding puts pixels in the cell. Now look at hi there, Jimmy, and look at our garbage text over here. If I take cell padding up to 20 pixels and hit return on the keyboard, it creates a little margin right here on the side of the cell. It's an invisible margin so that hi there, Jimmy doesn't go all the way over to here or to the top or over here to the left. That is cell padding. The downside of that is if you do it to the table, it does it to everything in the table. Now, I don't like that. We can overcome that using CSS. That's why CSS is so powerful. But now let's talk about cell spacing. Cell spacing, let's set that to 20 also something different will happen. Cell spacing is the space between cells. And again, it's a wonderful thing, but it can be a very bad thing because notice that it has applied cell spacing to the entire table. Maybe you only want cell spacing for the top row or the middle row, the bottom row. Well, when you apply properties, attributes such as cell padding or cell spacing, it happens to the entire table. So let's get rid of that. Bring that back, and let's go to border. I'm going to take border to 9 just because I feel like it. Hit enter on the keyboard, and it's kind of hard to see what it does. Let's crank it up to make it a bit more visible. Border, we'll set that to 20, hit enter on the keyboard, and it gives me kind of like this 1980s table effect with this border going around the table. And let's save the file. File, save as we'll call it my table. Okay, there you go. And let's preview this in a browser. And there's the look. Now when we set the border, it leaves a 1 pixel border going around each cell, and then it puts this huge thing that's kind of gradiated going around the edges. I haven't seen that since the 80s, but that's what it does. So generally speaking, I'm going to select my table tag so I can see the table attributes, properties. Generally speaking, I take all of these to 0 almost all of the time. And so there you go. And let's look at our code. Our code is kind of fancified a bit. Dreamweaver has added a bunch of code in here. Here's our table width, which is an attribute, a property of the table tag. We've aligned it to center. We have taken cell padding to 0, cell spacing to 0. But notice our TD tag, tabular data, table cell. We've set the width to 200, the height 200. Our alignment is set to center. A property of this particular cell is BG color, which we have given it this hexadecimal value of white. And then we have hi there in text on the page. And notice that the attributes for this table cell are different than the attributes for that table cell. So there you go. Pretty much that's the basics of your tables and table attributes that you can apply to tables. And we'll come back and we'll actually have more fun with tables in our next title.